I'm really shocked by how this picture has come together with Bitcoin, how it looks right now. Because we actually talked about this scenario a few weeks ago. I also mentioned this partially yesterday. Let's briefly talk about Bitcoin. And then we'll talk about what has happened here in the last few days that has completely changed everything. But before we talk about Bitcoin, you know what to do? Friends, leave a like and a comment on the video. It was a lot of work. And you know, I like to put in a lot of effort for you. Let's take a look at this. It looks like we formed a high and a low. And accordingly, everything looks good so far. Technically, we are still in an upward trend here. We've filled this gap and have now risen very nicely again. You already know that yourself. And look at how we are corrected. We've clearly corrected over a longer period of time here, but that was a total of 28% that we've corrected in Bitcoin. Let's go back to the previous Bitcoin cycles. That's where we had, every time, there are 30% corrections. So that means right now we probably don't have 30%, but 28%. And it could very well be that this was it for now, and that we can start rising properly again. Because as I said, in the past we had 30% corrections every time. Also here in the bull warning, that's part of it. We just need those times when people are put back into fear, when the market sentiment completely changes, so that we can even see the next big upward trend. You can see that. Otherwise it can't happen sometimes because there are just too many people going long or too many going short. The market makers need to pick up and work through certain things here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to reach the next price targets. And as I said, a lot has changed in the market technically, because I mentioned that in the video yesterday or the other day. And last night, the news came that it's indeed happening as anticipated. And that's extremely positive, trust me. Hey guys, take a look at what he wrote here. That's exactly what I mentioned. Trump is absolutely brilliant. The 10-year bonds are falling. Inflation is slowing down. And right now the Fed is forced to act. And you have to understand, the Fed is not a government organization. It's an independent organization. That means you don't have to do what Trump wants here. But Trump has now initiated some things. For example, the 10-year bonds are falling and that inflation is slowing down. That's exactly what he did, so that the Federal Reserve has to act. And on the other hand, the USA can now refinance better because the USA still has a debt gap of $6 trillion. Of course, they don't want to have them at such high interest rates. Accordingly, it's good when the bonds are falling. And you have to understand that what Trump has done in the last days and weeks, he did it so that we see some short-term pain. But in the long run, that's very positive. Because you have to imagine this whole trade war with Mexico, China, and so on was all just a means to an end. That was meant to strengthen the US dollar again and to put them in a better financial position. Now it has come to the point where we are seeing interest rate cuts in China, bonds, and buybacks. And with that, you have now created a package of 3 million yen. That's extremely strong and it will boost the markets because that brings fresh capital into the markets. But that ensures that the yen is more stable against the dollar. And that's also the reason why we've just seen such a strong drop in the dollar. This also brings global liquidity into the markets. We'll take another look at that in a moment. And because China has now done that, it is pretty clear that we will now see our interest rate cuts. And that changes things here. This really changes things completely. Everything, as a result, we continue to see a weaker dollar, and we are witnessing an expansion of global liquidity. So you get it, what's happening here is due to Trump in the last few weeks. He has simply created uncertainty here. It was just a game to ensure that the US is better off in the long run. He did all of this intentionally. Just take a look at these positive things. The dollar has now, historically speaking, a really big downtrend. I mean, we've seen it in the last few days too. That's extremely positive. Take a look at this in the past. Such spikes have sometimes triggered the bull run in the past. Just imagine that. Extremely positive, very important that we are slowly seeing a weak dollar. As I said, this gives us new venture capital for our cryptos in the markets. And conversely, we also see that global liquidity is continuing to expand. It's building up piece by piece. Bitcoin hasn't quite grasped it yet because there's always a time lag here. But fundamentally, that's a positive thing. And fundamentally, that's also what we need for Bitcoin dominance. Because here we see the expansion of money, and here we see Bitcoin dominance. They correlate with each other to some extent because we simply need fresh capital for risk assets. Otherwise, no one wants to invest in risk assets. So what you're seeing right now is what has happened in the last few days. Especially yesterday with China, it completely shook up the market. There's a completely different vibe right now, and it's more positive than ever before. These are things that could lead to another Bitcoin all-time high. So this is really extremely positive. And tomorrow we have this conference, the crypto conference at the White House. And take a look at how the bull run was sparked back then. We had a years-long downside trend until this event took place. After that, we had another monster rally. So just take a look at this correlation. We had a correction for weeks, even months back then. Then came the B-Word conference where Elon Musk, ARK Invest, and so on were present. Really well-known names that usually weren't on the crypto agenda. When they appeared there and talked about crypto, Bitcoin, and so on, we had another massive monster rally. And to be honest, it could be like that again this Friday. Just take a look at what kind of people are on this list. Here come people from Coinbase and Kraken, Ripple, crypto, but here we also have MicroStrategy involved, and Donald Trump is here too. It's really crazy. There are some really impressive people involved here, and people are underestimating that. I believe that's exactly what's happening here. I mean, a crypto conference at the White House with the most important crypto people. What have we had that's more positive in the last few months? I believe nothing. This is extremely positive. This could also catapult us to the next level because, as I said, the last bull run was partly triggered by this simple conference. Triggered, and especially because Donald Trump wants to talk about the crypto state reserve there again. It's also interesting to see how it will look if he officially does this on Friday, and maybe even on Friday. If they completely reduce crypto taxes to zero, then we'll probably see a big upward trend again, and it will continue. Additionally, Michael Saylor has already hinted a bit that the USA wants to buy over 1 million Bitcoin for their state reserve. You have to say, if they really do that, we would be standing at 200, 300, 400,000 here. But to be honest, something like that won't happen in just a few months. That would stretch out over years, but it's more positive than ever before. And while you're scared, Donald Trump's company continues to buy in large quantities. Ethereum 1 and Bitcoin, they know what they're doing. They're not buying out. It's fun. At $90,000 for Bitcoin, if you don't expect us to rise here. These are the market makers who are ruling the game these days. That's why it's better to see what the big players are doing and not always fall into fear. Right now, a lot depends on the US dollar and global liquidity, and how the USA is now reacting to this China package. But as I said, it looks like we need to see interest rate cuts now, and that would change everything here. I mean, take a look at this graphic. Here you can see the Bitcoin performance in white, the altcoin performance in yellow, and this indicator even shows when you should sell. We're here in the Bitcoin doll area of the sell your house section. So, according to the indicator, this is the area where you should really invest big in Bitcoin because it feels like it can't go any lower. Let's see if this indicator was right this time. It would definitely be interesting, and I wanted to show you this indicator because in terms of the past, this indicator wasn't that bad at all. And there's really not much more to say today. Thank you for watching. You know what to do. Leave a like and a comment on the video. And then until next time, friends, bye.